Now that we've got the mouth bag set up, if we want to be able to, again, open this character's mouth, and even if we're not going to really do too much with the mouth, we want to have some teeth inside here. So we can use some really simple techniques to build kind of a gum setup with some teeth. Let's build the gums first. We'll kind of do the top, and then I'll let you go ahead and do the bottom. It's kind of the same procedure. So I'll start by going ahead and bringing in a polygon primitive, and let's bring in a pipe. All right, let's go ahead and move this up sort of in a better position here. And you can kind of see, if I frame up on this, what the pipe initially looks like. So let's go into the creation node, and we can change the radius of the pipe. And we can kind of get it to a rough size. We kind of want it to be maybe something like that. Okay. So I'll go ahead and bring this forward a little bit. I want to give it a little bit more thickness. So maybe something like that will work. All right. Now I also want to come in and just from the top view, taking a look at this, I want to go ahead and bring, or I don't need actually the back end, so I want to go ahead and delete the geometry on the back. And so I can go ahead and let's actually go to face mode, and we'll delete all those faces at the back. I'm going to go ahead and take these, scale them out a little bit, and then move them back. So we want to create eventually kind of this horseshoe shape. All right, and I'm going to pull that back, and let's use the insert edge loop tool to add edge loops here. So I'll go ahead and create one here and here, just so that's kind of an even distribution around there. We can also go ahead and get rid of one side of this. So we're left with something like this. So this is the area where the teeth are going to be embedded into the surface. And so this area on top is going to be up inside the mouth, so we don't need this. And if we want to have a roof to our mouth, then we want to have geometry filling in basically this gap right in here. All right. So to do that, let's go ahead and select these edges. I'm going to leave the two at the front. And let's go ahead and extrude those, and I'm just going to pull them straight over. Okay. And then let's actually go to the top view here. And then we can grab those points, and we can go ahead and snap those to the center. Okay. Now we've got a gap here. So what we can do is use our append to polygon tool. Start at this side, go to that side, and that'll fill that in. So we get something like that. Now when we smooth this out, we get something like this. So it gives us kind of a basis for our gum model. Now depending on how detailed you want to get with this, in order to be able to create some differences in the shape as the teeth are embedded into the gums, we don't really have enough resolution to actually do that at this point. And so if you want to, you can come in and I'm going to smooth. I'm going to reset everything, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off this preserve and just give it a smooth of 1. So thinking about each section as a tooth, that gives us resolution to be able to manipulate that. Now we're going to be kind of stylizing this a little bit, so he's going to have fewer teeth than a normal realistic human, but you can add more detail if you want to create that sort of a realistic look. So here I want to come in and just make sure all those points are in the center, and then I'm going to go ahead and select, and let's actually select the two edges here. So we'll start here, and let's kind of move those up. Let's skip one, and we'll do the same thing. And then if you want to, you could just select them all before you actually move it, and then just move it once. So going ahead and selecting, all these edges, and then just kind of moving those up a little bit. All right, we can also take these bits here and just kind of move them out, bulge them out a little bit if you want to. So you end up with something like that. Now for the teeth, we can come in and create the individual teeth just using polygon primitives. And for those front teeth, make those pretty standard. So we'll kind of get our cube in here. And let's go ahead and make it a bit narrower. So we end up with something like that. We can go ahead and get rid of that face on top. We can grab those points on the back, kind of move them up and in so it's got kind of a wedge shape there. Alright, we can also come in here and start to add edge loops along here to add a little bit of shape to it so it's not completely straight. Can come in here and just kind of pull that up a little bit. Let's also create some shape from front to back. So grab those lines in the middle and just pull them forward just a little bit. It's got a little bit of a bow there. Now if we go ahead and smooth it, you may want to add another edge loop to kind of keep that tight, depending on what kind of tooth it is that you're going for. And then you can take this and drop it up into your gum spot. Let's kind of rotate it around a little bit. Alright, and then you can start to duplicate these. So, depending on how realistic you want to get, you can create the different kinds of teeth that you would have here so that we can sort of create a more realistic looking mouth, so that if we want to create something that's like a molar, we can maybe use this same geometry but come in here and modify it a little bit. So we can take these lines or these points back here, kind of thicken that up a little bit. Okay, you probably want to take that taper out, make it a little bit flatter. Okay, and then you probably also want to come in and use your insert edge loop tool to add a little bit of shape there. Let me grab that point, these points on the side. And so you can start to create different kinds of teeth really, really quickly. Again, this is one that's you're gonna want to put towards the back end here. And just start to fit those teeth into the gaps. Okay, do a couple of these maybe. Again, not being too exact here. Changing things up a little so the shapes aren't exactly the same. Okay. Maybe this one is a little bit more like that. A little bit more cone shaped. You can always grab those points. It's fairly low resolution mesh here. We can grab those points. We can get rid of some of those lines if we have too many, but you can start to come in and add those in. Maybe enlarge this so it's more butted up against that tooth. Maybe grab these points, pull them in a little bit. Okay. So once you get those teeth built, you can populate the rest of those. We can go ahead and mirror this over to the other side. So go ahead and mirror that to create the other side of the gums. And let me just pause as I create the other teeth, and then we'll mirror those over. So there we've got some teeth just built really quickly. So we can select all these teeth. Let's go ahead and group them together. Grouping anything will put the origin or the pivot of that group at the origin, and so that will allow us to go ahead and mirror this over. And we can mirror it just by duplicating them and scaling them in the negative x direction. Scales them across the axis, and then we'll freeze it. We get that normal issue. So we'll go ahead and reverse those normals, and we can set that opposite checkbox as well in our attribute editor. Alright, and if he's a little bit too buck-toothed, we can come in and make that gap maybe a little bit less. give his teeth a little bit more shape. Okay, and then let's go ahead and take this whole thing and let's group that together and let's center the pivot. And we'll go ahead and take that in. And then I just want to place it here so that we can see the teeth there. We need to scale it up just so it's inside of that bit there. Okay, so something like that. And then for the bottom, we can go ahead and duplicate that. And the simplest way would just be to flip it over, kind of scale it down a little. And then if you want to tweak the individual teeth, you can do that. I'll kind of rotate it down, kind of put it a little bit behind those teeth. Okay, and you can see the areas of the inside of the mouth that are kind of penetrating in, so you can take those and just kind of move them down if you want to. Want to avoid that sort of penetration. You're not really going to see that too much, but you can fix it if you want to. You deselect these. Kind of pull that down a little bit. Now if you want to add a tongue as well, you can just use a simple cube to do that and then smooth it out. Okay? So I would just go ahead and give it that sort of tongue shape. We can go ahead and give it some subdivisions here, and maybe subdivision or two along the width. Okay? And go ahead and get rid of these polygons on the back of the tongue, and then all you have to do is shape it. So, come in here. You're going to scale this down a little bit. All the while you can kind of smooth it. Already it sort of looks like a tongue. And you can just place that on the bottom of the mouth there inside. Obviously it needs to be scaled up a bit. Alright, so that's a look at creating things like teeth and gums. It's kind of a simple way to go about that with your when you're starting off building characters. The next thing that we want to look at is actually building the hair for our character. And the hair is a little bit can be a little bit hard because you're trying to think about, well, what's the topology supposed to look like? So we'll talk about kind of different kinds of or different ways that you can create hair, and then we'll look at a simple way to create the hair for our character using geometry. Okay, if you want to, you can come in with these gums and integrate it a little bit more with the mouth bag as well. I think that's good though. So in the next lesson, we'll come in and start working on our character's hair.